So in our previous session, we have discussed about Cucumber framework setup with page object pattern. So I'll just give a quick recap about how to design a framework using Cucumber, right? So I'm just closing all the open windows. Where is the close all? So in order to create a Cucumber project, first of all, we have to create a Maven project and we need to add necessary dependencies in pom.xml file. So what are the necessary dependencies that we require for this project is Cucumber project. I mean Cucumber io.cucumber, and this is the latest version 7.15.0. And then this is a Selenium version. This is also, I think, recently they have released 4.20 version. But whenever you go to the Maven repository, you can directly search for the Selenium Java library. It will give you the latest. If you select the latest version, it will give the dependency directly. You can just copy that and paste it here. And this JUnit dependencies will get automatically added. And the other dependency that we need for Cucumber is this IO Cucumber Pico container. This is an extra dependency that we need to add. So Divya and Pavan, I did you started like creating this project in your machines? Are you facing any issues?
Yes, Mahesh, I have added dependencies,
Okay.
Cucumber dependency,
So you,
Mahesh, but I got one doubt, Mahesh, while doing that.
hmm Okay. So is
Yeah.
it clarified or you are still having some issue?
No, Mahesh. Like I did not do. In this, after adding dependencies, you have written program like we'll be having features, elements, and all
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
left panel, right?
Yes.
So those are not been yet added, Mahesh, for in my IntelliJ.
So you have to add this folder, like features is the folder that you have to create, like
I have created features, Mahesh, but in the main in Java, SRC
SRC
Java,
test.
we'll be having elements, action steps, and test runner, right? So those are
Okay.
not being added for me.
No, we only by default what you will see is SRC, test, and Java. So whatever the folder that you are seeing here, or you have to add it manually. Like you have to create these folders. This will not get added by default. You have to add.
Oh,
SRC,
okay.
test, Java would be there by default, but you have to add these four folders.
Yeah, even for me also, yeah, till Java only it has there actions
Okay,
and
okay,
all are not been added. So I thought maybe I missed a video. I thought, and I
okay,
thought
okay.
to explain it to you on Monday. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Then maybe after this session, you can try to add these folders and the respective files that we have added in each of the directory.
Like how
So
we have to do that, Mahesh? Can you tell me like if how to
yeah,
create a kind of Java?
first of all, you will add a feature directory here. For example, I'll just create a dummy directory under root directory. This is my first Cucumber project is my root directory. Then I'll
Yeah.
just click new and then directory features one. So this is the directory for features. For example, I have to add one new feature file. What I'll do, I'll click new file, my feature
Okay.
dot. For any feature, the extension should be dot feature.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is the first thing that we need to add. So after we added the feature file, we have to write some steps, right? What is this scenario about? What is this feature about? Demo
Okay.
feature. And similarly, like scenario, demo scenario, and then given when then statement. Okay. User launches when login with valid details. So these are the steps normally we have to add like this. Then after you add these statements, you have to write a step definition file for these feature file.
Can you repeat once again, Mahesh? The
So this is,
last word.
yeah, sure. So this is the feature file. So this is the acceptance criteria of your requirement. For example, let's assume this is acceptance criteria for your user story. So you'll just
Okay.
write a plain English text like scenario like this. So
Yeah.
after you write these particular statements, so as of now, these steps doesn't have any implementations. That's the reason you are seeing an yellow underline below that, right?
Okay. Yes.
So if this particular step is already implemented, you will not see this yellow color underlined steps, underline. So in order to implement the step for this particular line, you have to click on this yellow bulb here.
Okay.
So if then it will automatically gives this option. So you have to select create step definition. So after you clicked on that, it will ask you to create. You already have some steps file, or you wanted to create a new step. For example, let's assume I don't have these steps already, so I'll click on create new file,
Create new file. Okay.
right? And
Yeah.
so as we discussed, we have to add all our step definition files under steps directory. So if you go to the home directory, this is my project, right? Test annotation. No, for some reason it is not going new directory. It will add the new directory here itself. Show path. Let me close it again. File location. Why? Module directory.
I think you're having again, right, Mahesh?
Okay,
That's why I
okay.
think it's not.
Maybe I have to change the directory of my project, like downloads my
Okay.
first project. So I'll just change this part. So this is my root directory, right? My first
Yes.
Cucumber project. So I'll select that. Sorry, my first project. And under
Okay.
that, I have SRC. Oh, why it is not working? Usually it should show me the path of, uh, I should be able to browse this. So my first project, but it's not getting refreshed for some reason. Why? There any other options? No, right? Drag and drop file into the space above or quickly locate it. For example, so, and I'll give the path normal here, SRC, and then test, and then Java. And so as we discussed, under SRC test Java, we have to create three different folders. So I'll show you after this, after I created this. So steps dummy. So if you expand this SRC, SRC test Java. So there is a steps dummy folder that we just created is added, right? So and
Yes.
this is the
Yeah.
step definition file. So why we have
Okay.
created another dummy directory is just for demo purpose. If you already have created this steps directory, you can directly give the path of this, like, so what we have passed src test Java,
Okay.
right? So that is the path that you have to mention while creating a new step definition file. So right now we already have this path, right? Whenever you wanted to create another step definition for the next statement, Okay, it is trying to build the references. So as since we already created a step definition for the first statement, you will see the yellow underline is not there now. So similarly, you have to create step definition for the other step file. So since you already have you just have created this dummy step definition, right? You can choose that step definition so that your new step definition will gets automatically added here. And then similarly for this, I think system is a little slow. That's the reason it is
Slow, I
not.
think. Yeah.
Yeah. So now the underline is not disappear. And similarly, so this is the first step. After you create your feature file, you have to create a steps for each and every statement that you added in the feature file. So if you see, user launches will have a reference in the my step definition file. So this given when then statement has a mapping for these three statements. These lines of code will get automatically created, but inside that you have to write your code. For example, here user launches. So user launches some particular application. So up inside this method, what you have to write is you have to write the code for launching your particular application. Like for example, I wanted to write some test scenario for my bank application. So I wanted to write a code to launch my bank application URL. So that is the reason we have created something called actions. So for example, I have to perform login action, right? So I have to create a login actions class. Inside that, whatever the action that I wanted to perform, I will have some method here. See?
So if we create login actions file, Mahesh, so it
Hmm.
automatically will get the code, right?
No, you have to write this code. Each and every line of code you have to write first of all.
Okay.
So for example, let's assume I have this particular method user launches some application. So what I'll do is I'll create an object for this login actions class, or else I'll create some dummy class here. New Java class. Let's assume you don't have any of these files. I'm
Okay.
creating a new file. So this is my dummy class that I just created. But inside this, I have to write code for launching my application. So in order to launch any application, what is the common code that we need to write? Driver.get method, right?
Yes.
So the same lines of code we have to write here. For example, login actions dummy. So this is a class. So I will use this particular class for. So I have to create an object for this class in order to use any of its methods. So under that method, launch application. And you have to pass the URL of your application. For example, let's assume www.google.com.
Yeah.
So this is the method that we need to add in this particular class. So if you right click, it will show you a bulb icon and create
Okay.
method. So it will automatically create a method. Then you have to create an object for WebDriver here. WebDriver driver is equals to, since we are using Chrome driver, You can use Chrome driver here.
Yeah. This is object, like we had to, yeah, we had to create object, right? In
Yeah,
this?
we have to create an object for the driver, and
Okay.
with the help of this driver object only, we can perform any action on the application. Driver dot get and
Yeah.
whatever the URL that we are passing here. So since for example I am passing URL, this URL from my step definition, right? So this URL will be we are parameterizing that URL. Let's I'll just rewrite this URL. So this URL will be parameterized to this method. So with this statement, the first this implementation is completed. Like in user launches some application in this statement, we are trying to launch Google application using this method. So
Okay.
this is how we need to create. So after that, for example, after I launch some application, I wanted to interact its element. For example, let's assume this application has some username and password fields. So I wanted to interact with those fields, right? So I have to create locators for those applications. I mean, for example, username would have we have to define a locator for username and password fields, right? So that's when
Yeah.
you have to go to the elements folder. So for example, I wanted to use some username field in my other method. For example, public do login, and it requires two values. What is those values? Username and password. So in order to log in, we need these two values for any of the login. Any applications login, we need these two details, right? So I'm creating a method for this, and then we have to we have to locate those elements using driver dot find element. Or you can this is the normal way of adding code. Since we are following some framework approach, that's the reason we have to add these elements, I mean username and password elements in elements directory, and we already have login elements page. So what we will do here in login elements page, we will just declare our new username and password, whatever the locators that we wanted to interact, we will add here. And this is a common method in order to initialize any of the identifiers that we have to add. So for example, I wanted to interact with login elements. What I'll do, so in this method, I'll create an object for login elements class as well. New login elements. So I have an object for this login elements now. So now I can directly use expected one argument, but found zero. What is that? Okay, we need to pass the driver object for this. So now if I use this object, it will give me the what are the different identifiers that this particular classes have. So just dot control space. So it will give you the different elements that it already have. Login button, input for login password, input for these are all the different elements that we already added manually. So this is a
Yeah.
way of interacting with the elements.
Okay.
So this is the connection. Like first of all, we will create features, and after we create features, we have to write some scenario. So, this is where is our my dummy. So from this, we will create step definition for each and every statement that we write here. So
Okay.
those step definitions will be added in steps directory, and from these steps we will have a connection between actions, and actions will have a different methods, and it will internally connects, it will take the elements from this directory, whatever, for example, as in page object model, each and every page should have a Java class. For example, login is one web page, and if you click on sign in, you will go to the home page of that particular user. So home page, so whatever the different elements that you see on home page, you have to write For example, let me give you an example of our website, not this one. So this is the, when you click on sign in page and sign in, this page is nothing but login page. So whatever the elements that you are seeing here should be added in login elements page. Right now we only use email, login password and login button, and the error message XPath. So we only added four, but if you go to the real application, you are seeing different options like these are home, all course. You have to add a locator for each and every element that you are seeing here. Maybe since we are just demoing, we are not using all the elements. But for example, if you are in real time project, you have to, whenever a developer creates any new web page, you have to identify each and every locator of that particular element and add that particular element in this particular class, login elements class. Right now we only have four, but if you go to the application, so each and every element that you are seeing would have a unique identifier, and that unique identifier you have to add in this particular class. Similarly, after user logs in, so after user logs in, we call it as a home page of the user. So whatever the elements that user sees on this particular home page, each and every element we need to add in home page elements. Right now we only added only two elements, like one is for profile icon and one is for manage. This is for some other application, but since we only added profile icon, we you can also add identify this my account and log out. So this is how you have to locate you know, right, how to identify any web element using the locators, like whether it is id, name or xpath. So you have to choose any of the strategy, but you have to add a locator of that particular element in this class. So next time, whenever you have to add some new scenarios where you have to perform some action on the same elements, you can directly call that particular element using the class name. When you will create an object for this class, right? So you can directly, just now I showed you an example. Whenever I click on login elements, whatever the elements that I defined in login elements class, it will automatically display here. So right now we have declared four elements. So I can directly perform any action that I wanted to perform on these fields, these four fields. So you don't have to write any duplicate elements throughout the application. So it will avoid, by following this approach, we can reduce the redundancy of the elements, and maintenance of the project will be it will be easier. So one person any so since we are following some structured pattern, for example, in a project, if there are 10 members are working on the same projects, and they if they understand how this framework is developed. For example, there is a new field is added in login elements. So what they will check, whether there is any login elements page is already existed, and they will find this particular element, login page element, this class, and they'll directly add that particular newly added web element in this page, so that anyone whoever needs to perform some action on that particular element, they can directly make use of that particular locator. So this is how we need to uh, develop the framework. So I think maybe you can. I think you are you. So you can take reference from this project and try to just remove all practice website. Just focus on banking application and create only feature file for the banking application. Just and take reference of these actions directory, elements directory, steps, and this is dummy that I just created for demo purpose. I'll just remove this. and this is also dummy. And after we added these actions, elements, and steps files, in order to run our scenarios, this is the directory where you have to link up your feature files with the steps. Features files directory. For example, if your features file directory is something else, you have features one, then you have to give features one here. Since our features directory is features only, so I am passing features. And similarly
Okay.
similarly steps, for example, this steps directory I have named it as steps 1. I have to give steps 1 here. So whatever the name, whatever the root directory of feature files, that name you should pass here. And similarly, whatever the root directory of your steps, you have to pass here. So we are linking those two directories, and after we link those two directories, we have to pass the tag. So tags are nothing but, in feature file we will add some tags like this. So we call it as cucumber tags. In order to identify uniquely any scenario, you have to give a tag for that particular scenario. With the help of these tags only, we can run our scenarios. So the same tag whatever you passed here, you can use this particular tag, copy, put it in test runner, paste here, and run. So that it what it does is it will identify the all the scenarios which have this particular tag on above the scenario, and it starts executing those scenarios. So this is a framework. I mean, we call it as Cucumber framework with page object model.
Okay. This is somewhat confusing.
Yeah, you can in interviews also, they will ask you a question like which framework you have used in your test automation. You can mention like I have used Cucumber BDD framework with page object model.
Okay.
Page object model is nothing but we are creating a page object for each and every web page of our application. Like for example, I have login page, home page, and
Yeah. Okay.
registration page. So each page has a unique Java class. That is nothing but page object. We are creating page objects for each and every web page. That is the
Okay.
meaning of page object.
Okay.
So this is about framework design. Maybe they will also ask the common question like, can you explain your folder structure? So what your answer should be like. So in my project, I have features folder for maintaining all my feature files. And there could be a subdirectories. For example, your application has multiple modules, like modules. For example, let's take a big e-commerce website. So in e-commerce website, there are multiple categories, right? For example, mobile category, home needs category, and each and every category has multiple pages. So you can segregate each of your pages or each of your scenarios uh, by keeping subdirectories under this folder. Okay.
Okay.
So that is how you can explain like I have multiple feature files. I mean I have multiple modules in my project. So I created a subdirectories under feature file for each of my module, and inside that my module I have created all my feature files. So that is one feature files folder. And then let's go to the implementation part of my feature file. I have created a I have created a first feature should be linked with step definition. So I created a steps directory under SRC test folder, SRC test and steps folder I have created. So I created all my step definition of my scenarios in steps directory. And from steps directory I have created some we call it as these call it as step definition. So we call it as these are steps, and the implementation what is nothing but a step definition. These are steps
Yeah.
and these are step definition. So from my step definition, I have some actions to be performed, right? So I have created a action directory, and inside that action directory, I have created a actions class for each and every web page. So whatever the actions that I perform on each web page will have a unique class, and inside, for example, I whatever the actions that I do on login page, I created a login actions class. Similarly, whatever the action that I performed on home page, I'll create a home page actions. Like whatever the actions that a normal user perform on that particular page, all those actions will be I'll be writing those actions under that particular class itself, so that we will not make any duplicate work or redundant work. So and after that, you have added your actions class. So inside actions class, you have to perform some action on the web elements, right? So I have created a elements directory, and under elements directory, I created a separate Java file for each of the web page, and the elements whatever I am seeing on that particular web page, I created a locators of that particular page in that particular unique class. For example, login is my web page, and
Yeah.
all the elements of my login page are added in login elements. So these are the main directories. So features will be linked with steps, and each step would have some actions to be performed. So I'll add all my actions under actions directory, and
Yeah.
I have to perform these actions on some elements. So I have
Yeah.
separate Java class
Elements.
directory for elements. So I'll interact whatever the action that I'm doing in action directory with the help of the element that I declared in elements directory. So this is a simple Cucumber BDD framework folder structure. You can explain like this.
Okay.
So and let's go to the Cucumber functionality. So in our feature in our previous session we discussed about framework design, right? And we also have some sample scenario like for example, this is user is on a bank login application. User enters valid credential. He's on home page. So if I run this particular scenario, it will just run my bank login with username and password that I shared here. But for example, I wanted to see what username and password I am entering by using the feature file itself. You have to do a parameterization. Parameterization means instead of entering username and password details in the implementation, I will give these details in feature file itself, so that if there is any new in the reports also, you can see which username and password you are using. For example, if you go to the test report, uh, let me just run normally. Test test runner. Already we have this
This
tag.
mytest report.html will be automatically created, right, Mahesh?
Yes. So let me delete these two. Even if there is an already report, it will override with the latest details. But for demo purpose, I'll just remove this. Delete what it is saying. Items to be deleted.
For my test report, test runner is not been created, Mahesh.
So you have added this test runner with these details. So like whatever the name of your HTML file that you pass here, so it will give you the report with the same name.
Oh, okay. Okay, Mahesh. I'll try it with that.
Okay. So I just removed these two existing reports. Okay. So since we have passed the name of our Cucumber report as my Cucumber report.html, and this is the scenario that I wanted to execute. So you can see the report that gets generated. But the problem, if you don't have parameterization, so you don't know whether which credentials you have entered. So
Okay.
that's the reason we can pass the data that we wanted to enter on the application by using the feature file itself. So it, the execution is completed. What happened?
Mm,
Assertion error means something that we are expecting is not working as expected. So we can verify what is wrong. See, for example, here what we are doing, manager link is not visible after login. So this is the error that it is saying. So you have to really go and check whether after you logged into the bank application, is it really not visible? So let's go to that particular line where we are verifying this particular link is visible or not.
okay.
So, okay. So in this statement, so whenever you click on this particular line where exactly the error is happening, if you click on that, IntelliJ will automatically takes you to that particular line of code. So then you can analyze why it is failing. So in this line, what we are expecting after user login, we wanted to see manager hyperlink is displayed or not, right? So
Yes.
here we are expecting this manager link is visible or not on the page, but here we have passed false, but it should be true because
Yes.
we are expecting this element to be visible. Then
Visible.
yeah,
Yeah.
then you have to assert with the true. If you don't want to, if for example you don't want to you don't want to your scenario is after user is logged in, you should not see this manage hyperlink link text. Then you have to update this with false, then only your
Okay.
test case will pass. Since we updated it to true, this time our test should pass. And if you observe, there is a report get generated already. So this time it got passed. And if you go to the report, so in order to open your HTML report, you have to open with any of the browsers. So
Okay.
this is the Cucumber report, the default Cucumber report. It gets generated like this. So here you only see user is on bank login page, enter valid credentials, and he is on home page. But if you share this particular report with somebody else, he would not know which credentials he has used, right? So in order to show the data that whatever the data that we have used for login, we have to use a concept called parameterization. So parameterization is nothing but, so you have to tweak your feature file like this. For example, I have this bank login feature itself, right? So user is on bank